best. The intention is to be the best. Not just sports, every box we check. Whatever topic we address. No such thing as putting us in the test. We not compromised. Guess you could say we selfish in that sense. What's your top 10?
Yo, what up? Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Sideline. 1 quarter of the FNS podcast family. Shout out to the rest. Matt, Louisa, wifey, Andrea. Freeze Corner, Wives Unscripted. And future FNS podcasts to be done. Subscribe, tell your friends about it, listen to it, and leave something in the comments section if you don't mind. But this Monday morning, man, coming to y'all after the results of the conference championship week for the NFL playoffs. Man, the Super Bowl, now 2 weeks down the road, the Super Bowl will be played in New Orleans with a rematch of a couple years ago. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Yesterday's slot of games, man. Yesterday, the first game that came on at 3 o'clock, Philadelphia was hosting the Washington Commanders. And to be honest with you, I never really felt like the Commanders really should have had a chance in this game. But things was close. Things was close in the beginning. Closer than they should have been. You know, it's one of those things where division opponents, you know what I'm saying? Whenever division opponents face off against each other, it's normally going to be closer than what people might feel it should be. No, that's the norm, because these are teams that know each other really well. And, you know, Washington, man, they was able to keep it close all the way up until the end of the first half. You know, when my man's fumbled on that kickoff return and Philly recovered it and was able to score a touchdown off of that, on top of scoring on the previous drive before they kicked it off, that spread out the score a little bit. But then when you factor in that they was getting the ball to start the second half, that was another like kind of mental blow. It could have really got like, the game could have really ended like really early. But when they came out the second half, Washington forced a 3 and out, which was big for them, but they wasn't able to capitalize on it. They had a 3 and out themselves. And then, you know, Philly's roster is just too good, man. Philly's roster is just too good. I'm not the biggest Jalen Hurts fan. It seems like the tush push saves him a lot, and it helps his production to be viewed as being at a high rate. At the end of the day, man, I feel like they're not accomplishing all that they could because of Jalen Hurts' inability to be a good passer consistently, and probably also because of the coaching, man. I'm not the biggest Nick Sirianni fan, neither. I don't know who his offensive coordinators is, because I know he lost both of his coordinators a couple years ago or last year to head coaching jobs. So, you know, but they roster on paper, when you look at it, man, this is just, I know I said this before, man, like, this is the most stacked team in the league. They really got good players at every position. Outside of quarterback, in my opinion, they really got good players. Jalen Hurts, he's not the worst, but he's just not a good passer. And so much of Philly's offense is effective because they extend drives by getting the third and short and then getting the fourth and short and just doing that tush push brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. And there was a whole 5 minutes, it seemed like, dedicated to Philadelphia trying to do this play at the goal line, and Washington just kept on jumping. They just kept on jumping over my man Frankie Louvu. He jumped over the offensive line 2 times straight and received a warning, I think it was. And then the defensive lineman jumped off sides, and then the whole team received that warning, and then that's when they just punched it in. At that point in time, man, it was just Washington, they overachieved this year. I think everybody will agree to that. They overachieved, because normally a team that was that bad getting a rookie quarterback, it's okay, you don't really expect to be in this position. You barely expect the playoffs for them. But, it just takes things to get flowing and clicking. Jaden Daniels probably had the best rookie season of any quarterback in the history of the league. So it's not like they got nothing to look forward to. This rookie season does not mean that Jaden Daniels will be one of the next great quarterbacks in the NFL. It doesn't mean that. The reason why, because there's been too many times where there was one-year wonders at the quarterback position as rookies, and Washington is experienced one of them. Robert Griffin III, he had a sensational rookie year, but then he couldn't slide, so then it was oh man, he was done for the year with his injury. And then when he came back from injury, he couldn't really get back on the proper flow of being a good quarterback. He's an analyst now. She should technically still be playing football. But I'm just using that as an example to show that there's evidence out there that shows that one-year wonders at rookie quarterback positions doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a good quarterback for their careers. But the hope is always there that they will. And Jaden Daniels, I hope he does have a good career, but now that teams have a whole season's worth of game footage to study him and to learn his strengths and his weaknesses, a whole season's worth, because when you have a whole season's worth of tape, you've played against multiple schemes, you failed at certain things, you were successful at certain things. There are certain plays that they can look at, or certain tendencies that they can look at to see what's your bread and butter that you like to go to when things get tight. What's the throws that you struggle with the most? Those kind of things. Teams, because this is the NFL, this is the most strategic game in sports. So coaches study those kind of things, and they do their homework on you, and they make their lists, and they have their notes, and they say, okay, well, he doesn't like to do this. He struggles the most when you do that. He likes to go this way. He likes to go that way. His most accurate pass is this route, and his least accurate pass is this route. Blah, 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 like the whole nine. So he has to come back sophomore year and show that he's just as capable as being effective when teams game plan for all those things. He's got to develop like a counter punch to whatever answer they come up with to stop what he was successful with this year. So, I mean, they overachieved, man. I mean, a whole lot of folks was pulling for Washington because not too many people care for Philadelphia. that much. And there's understandable reasons why. Mainly, I think it's because of them fans, man. Because, you know, if you ever been to a game where Philadelphia Eagles was playing, man, they fans is like, they fans is like beyond annoying. They fans like trash talk, like they be ready to like cross the line with their words all the time. Quick story. I used to have season tickets to the Jaguars, and this is back when Michael Vick just got back into the NFL, and he was playing for the Eagles. They was hot, like they was steaming hot, like they had the deadliest offense in the league. They come to Jacksonville. I took my grandmother to that game, and you know, Michael Vick was being Michael Vick, and they team was being they team. This was Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy. Like, this is who that team had. Asante Samuels at the corner. They was loaded, and they was, you know, putting hands all over Jacksonville. But it's not about the results of the game that bothered me the most. It's the fans that was there, that was Philadelphia fans, that kept on bothering me the most. I swear, man, if you look at if you was to be there and looked at every section of seating in the stadium, there was some kind of altercation going on against Philadelphia fans. And you know, Jacksonville, I don't know if the rest of the league does this. I would think they do. But they be having like secret like officers like in disguise as regular fans there. And they would like come in and police a situation if it was necessary. So that they had to step in a number of times. Like, man, look, I was seeing a female throw they drink on a Philadelphia fan, like fights ready to break out and stuff like that. Like it was like that, and all of this was happening right in front of my grandmother. I was like, you know, this sucks that my grandma has to see all of this. But then two, it's like I gotta protect my grandmother, make sure nothing happens to her. So, you know, but that's just a quick story about, you know, my personal experience with Philadelphia fans. And if you just look up YouTube Philadelphia Eagles fans and stuff like that, like, you'll see they wild. When they win, you know, like, I don't know what this thing is about destroying your own city, flipping cars over, setting stuff on fire. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. You know, but hey, that's what they do over there. And apparently they okay with it because the government doesn't, the authorities, they don't stop folks from doing that. I don't know if it's maybe because they feel like, oh yeah, it's too many of them, so we need to let them get it out their system and then we'll address everything else. But man, look, I can't say I don't know, I can't tell. But yeah, man, that's the Philly got the roster, man. Outside of Jalen Hurts, Philly got the roster. The roster with receivers, tight ends, running backs, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, corners, safeties. They got players at every position. They the most complete team in the league. Even the kicker, they got a pretty decent kicker. So Jalen Hurts, to me, he's kind of like holding this team back from being what they could be. And that's kind of a scary thing to say because they made it to the Super Bowl with this. Twice they made it to the Super Bowl with this. So, I don't know, man. But they will be playing against Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this game was the close game that was tight from beginning to end. You know, I think most of America was pulling for the Bills to win because they tired of the Chiefs and they tired of the refs, you could say, stepping in, making bad calls that favors the Chiefs and stuff like that. I will say this, I did not walk away from watching this game feeling like the refs helped the Chiefs out. I didn't feel like that. I felt like the Bills gave this game away, or they fumbled the opportunity to win this game. There's something about these NFL teams, man, when they get into these big games, they want to win on the quarterback's arm. They're not willing to ride their running back to the win. And I don't get why. We've seen Detroit do it against Washington, unfortunately. We've seen San Francisco do it to Kansas City twice in the Super Bowl. We've seen so many times where running the football was the recipe to winning, but yet they want the quarterback to win the game with his arm. I don't know why this is the case. Partially, I got a theory about why it is, because they trying to push the quarterback value so high to keep them worth more. And if a quarterback can win with his arm, then that continues to drive the narrative that you don't really need a great running back that much. Which is nonsense, because they always say you need to be able to run the ball this time of the year if you want to win a championship. They always say that. And it's been proven consistently. Been proven consistently. Running the football has always been a part of football. I don't know why they trying to, reinvent the wheel, but it is what it is, man. Like, they've been doing that. So, anyways, James Cook was getting off every single time he touched the ball last night. Every time. Yes, Josh Allen, he made some good throws last night, but it was nothing groundbreaking to where I felt like he's going to win them the game. Like, everything was tight. I don't know why they didn't try to ride James Cook more, because James Cook was getting busy every single time they handed him the ball. And he's such a quick, fast running back that he maximizes the little hole that is there. He maximizes the little hole that is there to run through, and he gets the most yards possible. I don't know why they stopped trying to let him carry the load outside of the reason that I just gave you. But teams do this all the time. Had teams committed to running the football instead of trying to throw it to win, Seattle would have 2 Super Bowls. San Francisco would have probably 2 Super Bowls. Detroit probably would have never lost to Washington. And last night, the Bills would have never lost to Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know why, man. I didn't walk away from that game feeling like the refs helped them out. Patrick Mahomes did play well, but not great. Like there was a number of drives where things ended early for them. Low throws happened a couple of times. Almost, throwing picks for both sides. Matter of fact, Josh Allen started off the game almost throwing picks. Both teams fumbling the football, it's just one of those things, man, where it was it was like both teams was doing enough to give the game away. And the Chiefs just did a little bit less. So, walking away from that game, man, people going, what? There was two big plays in the game that went to review that the call stood on the field. You had that one catch with Xavier Worthy where it looked like him and the defender on the Bills, they was fighting for the ball at the same time going to the ground. They called that a catch, and there wasn't enough evidence to turn it over. I personally didn't have a big problem with that play, with that result, because I didn't see the ball move. I didn't see the ball move at all. But they could have called that either way, you know. And he lost the challenge on that, throwing a challenge flag on that. And then the other thing was that Josh Allen, fourth down, quarterback sneak. There was no conclusive evidence that anybody can point to say that Josh Allen passed the line of scrimmage or passed the yards to gain, the first down marker. There was no camera angle that showed anything. And when those two refs came down the line with two different spots, that was going to be the big determining factor in that call. Whichever way they called it on the field was the way it was going to stick, because there was no evidence inconclusive evidence. Meaning that it's blatantly obvious when you look at replay that the call on the field was wrong. That's the only way that they flip a play around when it comes to reviews. It has to be inconclusive. There was nothing to show that Josh Allen crossed the line of scrimmage with the ball, because it's not about where his helmet was. It's not about where his shoulder pad was. It's not about where his elbow was. It's about where the football was. And you could not see where the football was because Chris Jones was standing within the line of sight. You couldn't go to the sky view because there was too many bodies that was covering up things. So you couldn't see nothing. So I didn't feel like the refs, was out there helping the Chiefs out. I didn't feel like that. Matter of fact, if you look at the most calls in the game, the Bills had least penalties against them, which is they could have had more because they missed on a couple of face masks. But, it is what it is. You got to play through it. But there was more penalties against the Chiefs than there was against the Bills last night. So it's just one of those things. When it comes to that, people are always going to feel salty about calls when it doesn't go for, when it doesn't benefit their team, when it doesn't benefit the team that they rooting for, and especially when it goes to benefit a team that they don't care to win. They always going to blow certain things out of proportion. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't have a point on that Houston game with the roughing the passer, the helmet hit. They didn't have. I'm not saying they didn't have a point there, and I'm not saying that there's no evidence to point to show that the Chiefs was getting the benefit of the whistle in the other games. But this game right here, I really felt like they was leaving it in the hands of the players to decide. And part of the reason why I think that was the case, or the reason why I feel that way, is because both of these quarterbacks make money for the NFL. Both of these quarterbacks are what they call the box office face of the league players for the NFL. So there is no benefit to supporting one over the other because they both give you what you want. They both give you the views that you want to see. If either one of them make it to the Super Bowl, nobody is complaining because these are two big names that make you money that are representing the NFL on the biggest stage. So I don't think that was a factor in this game right here. This was just a matter to me of Buffalo giving the game away and not committing to what was working, but trying to switch up and go to something else to benefit Josh Allen's numbers, Josh Allen's stats, because they want the headline to be Josh Allen pulls the game out. Josh Allen overcomes Mahomes. Josh Allen has a defining performance of his career. Those kind of headlines. They want those kind of headlines to be what the article says for the Bills to win. And so if the referees was in on helping Mahomes, the Bills was in on it too, because they didn't do what they were supposed to do to win. They didn't stick to what was working to win the game. That's the way I view it. But, it is what it is. Xavier Worthy was out there making plays. Hollywood Brown made his fair share of plays. He had a big drop. It was a tough catch, that sideline catch on that 4th and long. He had a tough catch there, but you know, he made his fair share of plays. Didn't really feel DeAndre Hopkins' presence that much. Didn't really feel Travis Kelce's presence that much. Yeah. It wasn't like really all, you know, big plays left and right from the Kansas City Chiefs. Juju Smith-Schuster made more plays than DeAndre Hopkins did and Travis Kelce did. And I know the world is tired of Taylor Swift. I am too, man. I had the same reaction that Bill Belichick had on that Manning cast when they was watching the game and they went to Taylor Swift, you know. But that's the matchup, man. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Eagles. Once again, if you look at what's on paper, Philadelphia should win this game. They should win this game. They should commit to running the football, giving it to Saquon. They should win this game. But because Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback that he is, that I feel will open the door for the Chiefs to be able to make some plays here that could win the game. And Philly's defense is good enough to where they can even stop them. It's just, will they? Because rosters on paper doesn't win you enough. You know, Kansas City been there, done that, played the big games. They got the chemistry with each other. They know how to play in big games. They know how to win. The coaches know what plays to call at the right moments. Spagnuolo calling that corner blitz messed up Josh Allen's whole last plan on that play. Speaking of, man, that drop by Dalton Kincaid, man. That drop by Dalton Kincaid is just as heavy as Mark Andrews' drop against Buffalo when Baltimore could have went to overtime. Just as heavy. But, you know, that's water on the bridge now. But, yeah, Kansas City, man, they're going to be ready for this. They're going to be ready for this moment, man. They getting players back from injuries and whatnot. They're going to be ready for this. Philly is the team that a lot of the players on their roster, they've been in this game. Some of the players won this game when they played against the Patriots. Some of the players. And then other players, they played in the last Super Bowl against the Chiefs and they lost. So it's time to see what lessons they learned. Because it's different coaches and whatnot, but it's almost the same roster, but just better, more loaded. And Philly's going to have to rely on a couple of rookies to get them the win. Because Darius Slay is getting older. I mean, he still can play a little bit, but he's getting older. So he's not as good as he used to be. I mean, that's just father time in itself, but he's still good. So they relying on rookie Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You know, like, they're going to have to show that they're not afraid of this moment. The lights ain't too big for them. Because while they have been good players, they got to deal with some speed now. With James Worthy and Hollywood Brown alone, that's going to be some speed that they got to deal with. But a couple of players that I feel is ready for this. I feel like Darius Slay is ready for this. I feel like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is ready for this. I feel like Josh Sweat is ready for this. You know, but Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, those guys, are they ready for this? We'll see. Are they ready for this? I mean, they was on the Philly team that went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. they didn't win. So are they ready to get the payback due? But once again, I'm going to look at Jalen Hurts in this situation, because I feel like offensively they should be able to put up touchdowns a little bit easier if he has a good game throwing the football. But even if he doesn't, if they just commit to running the football, with Saquon, they should win this game, dare I say, with ease. They should win this game with ease. But we know the coach is going to do what they do. They're going to try to have Jalen Hurts win it with his arm. They're going to try to have him get a couple of throwing touchdowns versus just giving it to Saquon and having him rush for, like, let's say 3 to 4 touchdowns, because he's very capable of doing that on a weekly basis. The Chiefs' defense ain't going to be no slouch, though. I mean, like, with Spagnuolo being who he is, an experienced defensive coordinator that won Super Bowls with the Giants, won Super Bowls with the Chiefs, he knows how to call these plays in these moments, man. And he has the players on the line of scrimmage, on that defensive line of scrimmage, that will be able to make their fair share of plays in this game. It's not just Chris Jones down there, So I'm pretty sure the game plan will be to turn Jalen Hurts into a passer, to make him have to show that he can throw the ball around the yard a little bit to get a win. But Saquon is going to get his fair share in this game. I'm pretty sure of that. I hope that he gets the MVP. I'm rooting for Saquon. I wouldn't have a problem if the Chiefs win. I wouldn't have a big problem if the Chiefs win, as long as it's not on some, blatantly obvious stuff with refs and stuff like that, where calls go. I've never been in favor for that with anybody. I wasn't in favor for that with Tom Brady, because a whole lot of their things was obvious, but this is the business of the NFL, so that's what we got to look forward to. They got 2 weeks to prepare. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, playing the game down in New Orleans. Everybody's going to have their Super Bowl parties, and losers of the game, they going to be having some moments, man. Like, I already done seen some stuff with Lions fans, man, where they shooting the TV. Like, I seen that. Like, I seen the video where my man shot the TV up after they lost to Washington. I don't know why, but why he does that. Why people do this. Damage your own stuff because they didn't win. Now you got to buy a new one. I mean, it is what it is, but that's what we got to look forward to, man. 30 teams is already looking forward to next year, ready for the draft. The draft is going to be in Green Bay this year and whatnot. So the results of the Super Bowl, man, we're going to be looking forward to it. I hope it's going to be a close game. I hope it's a close game. I really don't want to watch a blowout, but but it's football. It's the Super Bowl. I will. But the halftime show, Kendrick Lamar, having a big year. Had a big 2024. The battle with Drake. Then the album, the GNX. I'm probably going to perform some of those songs in the halftime performance. I will say this, though, just because how big the record is, the Not Like Us record, I feel like it's mandatory that he performs that too. I know Drake out here with lawsuits and whatnot, doing things that should never be done when it comes to rap battling and whatnot and beef and stuff. But, he ain't authentic, in my personal opinion. And people been giving him passes just because of the music that he makes, which is, hey, it's not the first time that they gave musical artists passes for some crazy stuff that they do. But that's the halftime show we got to look forward to. Pretty sure we're going to be talking about that, talking about the game, talking about the results of it. And then after that, I'm going to dive in to scouting these players coming out the draft, and we're going to, I'm going to try to, have some coverage of that, But outside of that, man, this Monday morning, it's getting warmer. We in the 30s today, mid-30s today. Looking forward to it. But everybody else, man, y'all be safe out there, man. Have yourself a good week this Monday. And once again, shout out to the rest of the FNS family. Peace.
Guess you could say we selfish in that sense. What's your top 10? We break it down a list, not moved by analytics. We judging offline production. Handle your business, we talk about it. Stick up the bill, then we talk about it. Not just star focus. Attention goes to the whole roster. Show you how to conduct a show proper. No props, all dialogue. Fact droppers. This the right show you chose? Keep you in the know and never move the goalpost.
We gonna cover off the court, off the field.
We're covering everything.
We'll talk about players that got themselves in some situations.
FNS, we covering everything.